Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'll be taking a look at my AMD Ryzen 9 9950X3D BIOS settings on the Gigabyte X870E Aorus Pro motherboard. Now, even if you have an MSI or Asus board, you pretty much be able to take something from this because everything's the same. It may just be in different places and they may sometimes be called something a little different, but it should be fine. So I'm using BIOS version FA5B. This is the latest version. And it does patch the recent vulnerability that was found. It gives you all the optimizations for all the latest CPUs. So it's probably worth updating your BIOS if you haven't in a while. And if we go into the advanced tab, there's the tweaker menu. It's where all the magic happens. Gigabyte pretty much starts with the CPU. So you just go straight into advanced CPU settings. Ignore the precision boost overdrive PBO enhancement. You don't need to do anything here. Go into advanced settings. Then go to Precision Boost Overdrive. This is like the standard one. Everyone has this. The first setting you get asked is, do you want to enable Precision Boost Overdrive? You get presented with the option of Enable or Advanced. You want to click Advanced. This will give you some further options. Second option will be your PBO limits. Just click Motherboard. It will basically unlock everything to the best your motherboard can handle. Most people will get 1000 on pretty much each category, so basically unlimited. And you also want to unlock the Precision Boost Overdrive Scaler. And you get two options, auto or manual. Click manual. It then allows you to choose from 1x all the way up to 10x. This is going to help your CPU achieve a higher sustained frequency under CPU load, but this can degrade your CPU over time a bit more than AMD would like. So it, it does come with that risk, but it's really, you only get an extra 10 millivolts. It's not a lot of voltage, honestly. So you can whack it all the way up to 10 if you want. But what I found is this can be unstable depending on what load. So for me, when I put this to 10 under some single core workloads, because it's boosting so high and so frequently, it can crash or just freeze up applications. So I just boost up to 7 and it seems to be perfectly fine and more stable. So you may want to try that out. This can cause some instability, but it does help get better performance. Now, the CPU boost clock override is something you want to enable, and you want to enable it on a positive because this is going to help in basically raise that boost clock ceiling. So I think for the 9950X3D, the non-Vcache cores can boost up to 5.7 out the box, and the Vcache cores can boost up to 5.5. When you add an extra 200 megahertz, you get 5.9 and 5.7 instead. So this is why it's important to have a positive max CPU boost clock override. Now you do have the opportunity to also undervolt with Curve Optimizer. So you get two options with this, or more than two actually, depending on what CPU you have. I have a CPU with 2 CCDs, so it's going to ask me, do you want to use Curve Optimizer on all cores, per core, or per CCD? Now, you can choose whatever version you want, but they all have their own caveats. I went with per CCD, the reason being, when you've got multiple CCDs, essentially you've got more than one CPU on one die, and they have different quality levels. So even if you were to do an all core of -25, half of your CPU may not like -25, half of your CPU may like more. You don't know which CCD is holding you back and what's causing instability. So it's best to do them individually. Now my CCD1, the one with the non-Vcache cores, doesn't like too much of an undervolt because I guess it boosts up to 5.9 gigahertz. It needs the extra voltage. Whereas the CCD0 that has the Vcache cores actually likes a healthy undervolt. So I've been able to push it up to 31, -31. And that's giving me the highest undervolt I can on this part of the CPU. So your mileage may vary, of course, so just try that out. I would recommend going up in increments of 5 until failure or instability. And probably best to do them one at a time as well. That way you can identify the limits of both CCDs individually. Okay, so I should probably explain, you do also have the option to do Curve Shaper. Curve Shaper further allows you to get tighter control of your undervolt. So you can kind of control the undervolt at specific temperatures. So medium range will probably be around gaming. You could undervolt just that specific workload, or something like a high temperature workload with something like Blender, where you want to undervolt a certain amount, or even a max frequency where you want to add voltage to keep that boost clock stable. So there's a lot to do there, but that's all really tight control tuning. When I have time, I'll dive into that, and if I find some good settings, maybe I'll share that with you guys at a later date. But that's pretty much it for the PBO. I do need to show that I have not changed any voltage settings. V-cores at auto, SoC voltages at auto, even my CPU VRM settings, my low line calibration and SoC low line calibration are both at auto. So I've just let the motherboard and CPU do what they want. Now, when it comes to memory, of course, I've enabled XMP or Expo profile, but I don't adhere to it completely. I've made a few tweaks here and there. Gigabyte has an option called Expo High Bandwidth Support. It's supposed to increase memory performance, and it depends on your hardware configuration. So maybe it will help, maybe it won't. I just enabled it just in case it does. Core tuning is one that all motherboards have, providing you've updated your BIOS in a while. And what I found is using the legacy setting reduces latency quite a bit on your memory and does help gaming performance. I've actually got a comparison with this on my 9800X3D. If you're interested, and maybe I'll link that video in the pinned comment or something. So I went with legacy. This can cause instability as well. So of course, like everything else, test it just to make sure everything's okay. I've got my memory at 6,000 mega transfers. I used to have it at 62, but this motherboard doesn't seem to like it too much. Things can fall out of memory, and I've noticed a few odd things here and there. So I've put it down to 6,000. It seems to be a little bit more happy, and the F clock is at 2,000, so it's perfectly like 1-to-1. And I've got it in the div 1 mode. So you've got two options. This option's really just for people that are running 8,000 or more. So you don't need to worry about that. Now I'll show you my sub timings that I'm using. So I've got it down to CL28 and TRAFI. I've got that at 65535, which is the maximum on the AMD platform. The Intel can go way higher than this because it's got such a more advanced memory controller. But these are just all the sub timings I tweaked, and it does help a little bit. I will note though that my stock voltage is 1.40 enabled. In order for me to stabilize this, I had to put that 0.50 volts just to give a little bit more stability. So you can try if you can get away with it without doing that, but you may need to add a little bit extra voltage just to help with stability. And that is pretty much it, guys. You don't really need to do much more than that. It's very simple. What I found with Ryzen CPUs, the better cooling solution you have, the better the performance you have. The cooler you can keep these CPUs, the higher your boost will be, and that's how you get the good performance. So I'm just going to jump into Windows, show a few synthetics and maybe some boost behavior in a game, just so you guys can just have an overall look at what this actually gives you. Starting off with Cinebench R23, we all know this test by now. Just records your multi-core performance and your single core performance. I've got core temp here as well, so you can monitor the temperature, power draw, ignore the core clocks. This is incorrect. So I'll start off with multi. The CPU cuts through this test so quick now I can actually do this in real time, whereas before I'd have to speed this up for the interest of time. Pulling around 264 watts and doing around 73 degrees, so temperatures are good. Getting 46,802, which isn't too bad. And do the single core test as well. I'm only going to do the single core on Cinebench R23. The other single core tests take way too long in like Cinebench R or Cinebench 2024. That takes a hell of a long time. I just want to give you guys a general idea of what the performance is going to be like. Okay, single core is done, 2333, which isn't too bad. Very, very good balanced system, brilliant multi-core performance and very, very healthy single-threaded performance as well. I'll pull up CPUz as well, so we can let's have a look at that quick test that also has something similar in terms of displaying a multi-core and the single-threaded performance. I'm just going to hit bench here. Okay, we're all done here. So you can see I'm getting just under 18,000 for the multi and 912.5 for the single. The single core performance is actually really, really good. This is right on par with my 9800X3D that was at 5.6 gigahertz boost. So I've basically gained a whole lot of multi-core performance without really losing any single core performance. So I'm very happy with that. I'll do Geek Bench 6 as well. It's quite relevant. So Geek Bench, just everyday tasks, multi-threaded tasks, single-threaded tasks, office tasks, all simulated and gives you a score at the end. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to increase the speed of this just for the interest of time because it's about 3 minutes and a half there. So I'm going to speed this up. Okay, guys, the results are in. You can see I scored 3,585 on the single and 24,821 on the multi-core score. Gives you a whole host of breakdown. Shows you the power plan. I'm using balance, which is the best for the 9950X3D. Shows you pretty much everything about your system. So that's an interesting test for anyone that's interested in seeing exactly how you stack up. And let's do a little bit of IDA 64 as well, so we can just see how that memory is performing. Okay, guys, the results are in. You can see I scored 3,585 on the single and 24,821 on the multi-core score. Gives you a whole host of breakdown. Shows you the power plan. I'm using balance, which is the best for the 9950X3D. Shows you pretty much everything about your system. So that's an interesting test for anyone that's interested in seeing exactly how you stack up. And let's do a little bit of IDA 64 as well, so we can just see how that memory is performing, or memory latency. So I'm just going to run the IDA cache and memory benchmark portion. So a fairly quick benchmark. You do need to have the fully unlocked version to get all the readings. there you go, guys. Latency is at 65.4. Read and write are in the 8000 megahertz range. Intel completely wipes the floor when it comes to read and write and latency. But AMD are getting there. They're making strides. That's the main thing. And these 3D chips are less dependent on memory bandwidth and latency, so it's not really a massive deal. Okay, so I'm just going to play some Stella Blade now, so you guys can kind of watch the boost behavior while in game. Okay guys, I got Stella Blade booted up now. Just going to go through the in-game settings I'm using. So playing at a resolution of 3840 by 2160. In terms of graphics, I'm using DLAA, so native 4K. And everything is completely maxed out. 4K environmental textures are being used. The only thing I've disabled is chromatic aberration, motion blur, and film grain, just a personal choice for me. Stella Blade, amazing game. Had a great time with this. Currently playing my new game plus as well. So to your left is MSI Afterburner. It does have an on-screen display function, which works with Revo Tuner statistics server. And the way I've organized this is so I can monitor both 3D Vcache cores and non-3D Vcache cores. And as you can see, the game's only loaded up 3D Vcache cores, so effectively it's parked all of the cores that don't have Vcache, as it determines that this game will perform better with just using the Vcache core. So you don't even need to do anything. The game just automatically does this. You should put your power plan to balance. However, this is the best way to run a dual CCD chip. As you can see, I'm getting nice boosting to 5.7, and that is pretty much the maximum as well, and it's really doing that. My 9850X3D was happy to boost to 5.6 gigahertz, but it couldn't get to 5.7 stable anyway, so this is actually an improvement. But we all know that Ryzen 9 chips are better bin quality, better silicon, so it does make sense. I am using more power, of course, 104 watt, but not a considerable amount more. Parking those cores does help save power. Been playing this game for a while. It's my control pad that keeps freezing up. I need to buy a new cable. Yeah, I need to buy a new cable for this. But yeah, temps are great. As you can see, just hovering between 49 and 50 degrees. I've got quite a monstrous cooling solution. If you're wondering why it's so cool, it's because I've got an external radiator with dual pumps, 8 200mm fans in push-pull. It does quite the job. But yeah, getting amazing performance, even at native 4K maxed out over 150 frames per second average all the time. So I think I'll leave it there, guys. I just wanted to show you what to expect with this kind of tune. You'll get good performance all round, and I think this is probably a better way to go than doing an all-core overclock where the core doesn't boost. If you want to get the best performance out of this chip, it's best to leave it dynamically to tune and boost up when it needs it. And I just think it's a brilliant chip. Expensive, but if you're someone that wants the best of both worlds, I don't think you need to look much further than this. Anyway guys, that's pretty much it for me. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.